Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast with your hosts, Reese Downing and Jacob Workman.
What's going on, guys? It is the TNT Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, NFL Edition, Week 7. Thanks for joining us here. With me, as always, is my co-host, Jacob Workman. What's going on, Jake?
Oh, just Lions are still rolling. Not much to complain about right now.
Yeah, not much to complain about.
Other than injuries. I do have an injury issue, but
yeah. Well, and we'll get to that here momentarily. Overall, a good week for both of us. Records from last week. Jake ended up at 9-6. I ended up at 11-4 with that big Dallas win last night. And John Taxis, who joined us for the second time last episode, he finished a little bit underperforming here at 7-8, but still not bad. Taxis, we always appreciate you joining the show, and we'll look forward to having you on again here later in the year. As far as locks are concerned, Jake missed his lock with San Francisco. He is now 3-3, I think, for the year. I hit my lock with Miami. I am now 6-0, and Taxis hit his lock with Kansas City, and he is now 2-0 so far.
I think you're 6-0 with Miami also.
Yeah, I probably am.
They've been your lock every week.
I'm going to keep leaning on them. They're going to keep winning. Total records so far for the year. Workman and I are both very close. Jake is 47-45-1. My total record is 48-44-1, and Taxis' record is 16-15. So everybody's above 500, which is where we want to be. So let's jump right into last week's recap. First things first here, the Cleveland Browns pulled off a huge upset on Sunday, beating the previously unbeaten San Francisco 49ers 19-17 with backup QB PJ Walker at the helm. Walker finished 18-34 for 192 and 2 interceptions, but it was Cleveland's defense that made the difference. The 49ers came into this game having scored 30 or more points in 8 straight games and averaging over 400 yards a game this year, but the Browns held the Niners to a mere 215 yards of total offense. Brock Purdy lost his first regular season game of his career, finishing 12 of 27 for 125 and an interception. Christian McCaffrey was held to 11 carries and 43 yards, and he also did get a touchdown before leaving the game early with an oblique injury. Dustin Hopkins was Mr. Automatic in this game, kicking 4 field goals for the Browns on the way to their victory. Quick note, the Niners and Browns combined for a total of 25 penalties in the game, totaling 224 yards. So first question we have here, every team in the AFC North right now has at least 3 wins. And I know you picked Baltimore to win the division, but with this being such a tight race, what team do you think has the best chance to knock the Ravens out and potentially steal the AFC North crown?
So I actually went back in how we kind of did in the preseason when we did our predictions. I went back into the schedule predictor and basically just picked every game from here on out with the current records. And one thing I had in the preseason when I picked this division, at one of the times I did it, I actually had all 4 teams with a winning record. And I thought to myself that this is crazy. This isn't going to happen. So I went back and I repicked it. Well, I just redid this today and I have all 4 teams with a winning record. So it's kind of interesting. I do still have the Ravens pulling it out though, and I have the Steelers actually as the second place team. That I actually have them in Cleveland, both tied for the same record at 11-6, but due to the tiebreaker, Pittsburgh is the second place team. So honestly, I'm going to say I don't think anyone can contend with them because I don't think Pittsburgh has the offense right now to handle the schedule to where they can win enough games to take Baltimore over. So if I'm picking anyone that's going to be close, it's Pittsburgh. But in realistic, I don't think anyone is going to be able to have the firepower to beat them. So I am sticking with Baltimore.
Okay, so just to clarify, though, with those standings that you've put in place, you have the Bengals as the last place team in the AFC North.
Yep, I have them finishing 9-8, which is a winning record, and it would just miss the playoffs.
Okay. They from a statistical standpoint, they do have the worst defense in the AFC North. They've given up 127 points so far. So, first and foremost, I don't think Baltimore is going to be getting knocked off the throne here anyway. I think that they are going to end up winning the AFC North. I think Cleveland has a better chance because of the offense to potentially be able to unseat them. But I'm with you. Baltimore's playing really well right now. They're the most complete team in the division. I won't be surprised if all of these teams end up with winning records, but if there is going to be a team that could supplant them, I can see it potentially being the Cleveland Browns, but I would be rolling with the Ravens as well. All right, moving into our next game here, the New York Jets beat the Philadelphia Eagles 20-14 Sunday, handing the Eagles their first loss of the season. Jalen Hurts finished 28 of 45 for 280 yards and a touchdown while matching a career high with 3 interceptions. It was the first Jets win over the Eagles after losing the first 12 matchups between the two teams. Brothers and Jets teammates Quinnen and Quincy Williams each had a turnover in the game, and the Jets are now sitting at 3-3 despite having both Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed out with concussions at some point during that game. With San Francisco losing to the Browns and the Eagles losing to the Jets, they are no longer any undefeated teams in the NFL. Question for this game. The Jets are going on bye this week and have 3 winnable games coming up in the Giants, Chargers, and Raiders. They also have Aaron Rodgers already walking around without crutches and throwing a ball on the sidelines after experiential Achilles surgery. If they take the bye week to get even healthier and continue improving on the offensive side of the ball, do you think they have a shot at the wild card still potentially setting up an Aaron Rodgers return in the playoffs?
Yeah. So again, using this predictor that I used, I, I have them as the first team out. They are the 8th team at 10-7. Schedule wise, let me pull up their schedule to see. So I had them losing. So in week 15, basically what would be the stretch run at the end of the year, they play Miami in week 15, and I don't think they can win that. So I have them Miami. That's in Miami. Then they play Washington. So I had them winning against Washington. I actually have Cleveland beating them in week 17, which is a game at Cleveland. And then I had the Jets winning week 18 against New England. That's at New England also. I know they're kind of up in the air, but so I don't see honestly a huge difference with Rodgers coming back to end the year. And I still think it's pretty far fetched that he could even do it. I know he's trying everything he can and he wants to, but it just I'm not sure it's worth it, to be honest. But I do have them finishing the year at 10-7 and being the very first team out of the playoffs.
Okay, I actually have them at 10-7 to finish the year also. So the games that I have them winning here are the Giants, the Raiders, the Falcons, Texans, Commanders, and Patriots. I think that makes, and then potentially the Chargers game. That is a winnable game for them for sure, especially because it's in New York.
Yeah, I gave them a win in that. It's Monday Night Football. I gave them a win against the Chargers in that one.
Okay, so that would be the last win there. That would take them to 10-7. So I don't know if it's worth Aaron Rodgers returning or not, but if they're going to be in the wild card race and he can come back, I mean, him being on the sidelines, I think, is already doing a lot. Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson look like they're starting to kind of sneak up a little bit. Brees Hall is being Beast Hall. He's playing very, very well right now. Uh, I don't see them making the playoffs, but it wouldn't surprise me if they squeak into that last wild card spot. So we'll see what happens with that team. Moving on to the next game here, we've got the Miami Dolphins who continued their offensive explosion, beating the Carolina Panthers 42-21 after falling behind 14-0 to start the game. Miami finished with 424 yards, 8 shy of 3,000 yards through the first 6 games, which has only happened once, and that was with the greatest show on turf in the 2000 St. Louis Rams. Miami also became the first team in the Super Bowl era with both 15 rushing and 15 receiving touchdowns through 6 games. Tyreek Hill has a league-leading 814 receiving yards, most ever through 6 games in the Super Bowl era, and he is currently on pace to be the first receiver in NFL history with 2,000 receiving yards in a season. Raheem Mostert has 11 touchdowns through 6 games. That's 9 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving, and that's the 6th player since the merger to do so. My question here is Miami's offense has been setting records this year, but to date, they've played the Chargers, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Bills, the Giants, and the Panthers, with their only loss being to the Bills in Buffalo. This week, they have a big matchup against the Eagles. Do you think these offensive numbers are indicative of the competition they faced, or is this really a historical offensive team that we're witnessing this year?
I think it's a little of both. Clearly, the best defensive team they've played so far was the Bills, and they got smoked. So I think you do have to look at that a little bit. I mean, obviously there's factors. That game was in Buffalo, but some of their upcoming games, they're going to play Philly, the Chiefs, which the Chiefs this year are very defensive. Their defense is great this year. Like that's quietly one of the stories of the season is the Chiefs are playing very good defense. They're going to play the Jets twice. They're going to play Dallas and they're going to play Baltimore. These are all relatively soon games that are upcoming, and all of those teams have legit defenses. So we're definitely going to be finding out a lot here in the next few weeks. But I do think it's a mix of both. Their offense is great. I mean, McDaniel's what he schemes up out there is brilliant, and they have speed everywhere. So it's tough to deny what they're doing, but when their only loss of the season is to the only team with a good defense, it kind of is eye opening also. So it's kind of it's kind of the double edged sword here. We'll see what happens in these games coming up, and I think we're going to know a lot more here very soon.
Yeah, this game this week is going to be interesting to watch. I know the Eagles are a little banged up on the defensive side of the ball right now, but that's all the more reason for Miami to be able to win this game, which we're gonna talk about here soon. Next, we've got the Detroit Lions, who beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-6 in Tampa Bay, as Jared Goff had a terrific game, going 30 for 44 with 353 yards and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown came back with a bang, finishing with 12 receptions for 124 yards and a touchdown. Baker Mayfield struggled against the Lions defense, finishing 19 for 37 for 206 yards and a pick. Neither team could get much going on the ground, but Detroit stifled Tampa's offense by controlling the time of possession, finishing the game with the offense having the ball for 36 minutes versus Tampa Bay's 23. The Detroit Lions are now 5-1, their best record to start a season since 2011. Jameson Williams at one point was a top 12 receiver in a receiver heavy draft and had a lot of very high expectations. He did grab a touchdown in this game, but he's only managed 2 receptions in a game and now has to compete for touches with the likes of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, David Montgomery when he returns, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Reynolds. Where do you see him fitting into this offense now that he's seemingly back healthy and staying out of trouble?
Yeah, his role is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. He's only played 8 games so far. He literally only has 15 targets on his career so far and only 5 catches. 2 of those are touchdowns, though, because basically in the limited time he has been available, they've schemed him open deep. The more and more we actually have him, obviously Ben Johnson's just developing more and more plays for him. I think he's going to be, by the time we get to the end of this season, he's going to be very dangerous. And when you have a threat like him to open up Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, the Lions offense is pretty dangerous. It's very unfortunate David Montgomery's hurt. Probably going to miss him for a little bit. Hopefully Jahmyr Gibbs is back this week. Reynolds stepped in well, though, and played. I mean, he was our only healthy running back last week at one point. So he did step in and play well. But for the Jameson Williams question, I do think his role is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And secondaries are not going to be a fan of him because he's going to fly by them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Hopefully, with unfortunately Monty being hurt, hopefully he gets back here soon. But with Gibbs not having to compete for touches here, hopefully that loosens him up a little bit and gives him an opportunity to get some touchdowns. Because I know fantasy owners, especially me included, have been waiting on him to have a solid game. So hopefully that comes here soon. The last recap game we're going to talk about here is New England Patriots versus the Las Vegas Raiders. New England scored their first touchdown in 12 quarters on Sunday, but they lost to the Raiders 17-21. New England's now 1-5, their worst start ever under Bill Belichick, and Belichick is now 0-3 against Josh McDaniels. Meanwhile, the Raiders managed to get their 500th regular season win in franchise history. Malik Cunningham was promoted from the practice squad to the 53-man roster, supplanting Bailey Zappi as Mac Jones' backup. Belichick was asked about this, and he chalked it up to the promotion to injuries. And while New England has suffered greatly to a myriad of injuries, the QB room is not one of them. Zappi was demoted to third string, while Will Grier was a healthy scratch. We've seen some of what Cunningham can do in his time in Louisville, and what New England is doing right now, and offense clearly isn't working. So if you're Bill Belichick or Bill O'Brien, do you throw Cunningham into this offense and see if something sticks?
Yeah, so last week I had the game on. I wasn't really paying it was on the same time Lions game was, so I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to it, but I did see Malik Cunningham in the game, and I think they got a false start penalty. They took him right back out. So I don't think they ever even ran a play for him. But I think at this point, why not? Like Mac Jones, his QBR right now is a 36.8, which is 30th in the league. He's at 5 touchdowns and 7 picks. Like what? I don't see the harm in giving your young guy a chance. Like, why not give Malik a chance and see what can happen? He's obviously much more mobile than Mac is. Arm wise, has to be pretty comparable. I mean, we saw what he did in college. So I just think at this point, your back's against the wall. You're not going to win many games this year, clearly. Your division's good. Like, just give him a shot. See what he's got at least. I mean, they're going to be in position to have an early draft pick next year with pretty good quarterbacks going to be in the draft. So I would at least figure out if you have something in Malik before that gets here, because if not, I mean, this draft is loaded with good quarterbacks. So I think it's time you definitely give him a shot and see what you got.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the New England Patriots currently own in terms of draft picks right now, but if if I'm New England, I'm throwing him in there because what's happening right now with Matt Jones is not working. So I don't think it's going to hurt anything to give him an opportunity to see what he can do. All right. Some quick other injury updates here. Trevor Lawrence left late with a knee injury. He's scheduled to have an MRI, but belief is there's not going to be a major injury there. Ryan Tannehill was carted off with a late ankle injury. Looks like he's going to be out for a while. So I believe Malik Willis is going to be getting the nod for the Titans here for a while. Jimmy Garoppolo left ahead of a halftime with a back injury, and he was actually transferred to the hospital for treatment. I haven't seen any more news on that. We touched base briefly on Christian McCaffrey, who left with an oblique injury. Debo Samuel also left early with a shoulder injury, and he did not return. X-rays were negative, and they're going to undergo further testing. As we just mentioned, also, David Montgomery left with that rib injury. It looks like he's going to be out for potentially a few weeks. And then one other quick note here before we jump into week 7. Not too long ago, Julio Jones has just announced that he is signing a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. So that passing offense, Julio Jones, I don't know how much he's really going to bring to the Eagles, but from a name standpoint, it's kind of impressive to have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, him, Dallas Goedert. They've got some weapons on that team. DeAndre Swift. We'll see how he gets implemented into that Eagles offensive attack. All right, let's move into week 7 here, guys. First things first, our Thursday night matchup this week is the 4-2 Jacksonville Jaguars heading to the Big Easy to face off against Derek Carr and the 3-3 New Orleans Saints. Jacksonville's coming off a victory at home against the Indianapolis Colts 37-20, while the New Orleans Saints head home after losing by 7 on the road to the Houston Texans. Jacksonville's on a 3-game winning streak heading into New Orleans and sits atop the AFC South, while the Saints have lost 3 of the last 4 and are third in the AFC South. The Saints are favored by 3 at home.
Yeah, I kind of told myself I'm never picking the Saints again, just because I'm getting real sick of watching them. I just haven't been. I feel like they're so much better than the way they play. But the Trevor Lawrence injury and it being a short week, I'm kind of skeptical that he plays. So I am going to take New Orleans to cover here, and I promise this is the last time I'm picking them this season.
I think that's what you said last time, but okay, we'll mark you down for the New Orleans.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the Saints are struggling to move the ball through the air. Jacksonville's strength right now has been their run game and their defense. It's not been their passing attack, which is what I think could be the difference here, whether Trevor Lawrence plays or not. I'm going to take Jacksonville here plus the points. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if they're going to start. If Lawrence is out, I think the only one that they have right now on their depth chart is CJ Beathard. Do they have a third string quarterback?
Beathard's the only one that I know.
Okay.
But I'm sure they have someone for an emergency. Probably pull up a practice squad guy.
Yeah, there's probably a practice squad. Yeah, exactly. And if it's going to be a longer term injury, then maybe they look into some free agents. I don't know, but yeah, I'm going to take Jacksonville here plus the points. The 3-2 Cleveland Browns head to our old stomping grounds, coming off a surprising win against the 49ers at home after a game-ending missed field goal by Jake Moody to meet up against the 3-3 Indianapolis Colts, who not only lost to the Jags last week, but also lost QB Anthony Richardson potentially for the year to a shoulder injury. Gardner Minshew will get the nod as the Colts quarterback, while the Browns sound like they are still up in the air over whether PJ Walker will get his second start or Deshaun Watson will make his return. Indianapolis currently sits in second in the AFC South, while Cleveland sits in third place in a competitive AFC North and is favored by 2.5.
I am going to ride with my guy, Jim Schwartz. I absolutely love what he's doing with this defense in Cleveland. It's like I've said before, he was one of the few coaches that I absolutely loved when he was the Lions head coach. And just to see his fiery attitude back out there, and the Cleveland defense is alive. The only hesitation I really have in this game is that they just had a huge win kind of a letdown spot now. They got to go on the road and play Indy, but I still like Cleveland here to get the cover.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a battle of backups. The Colts have the better offense. Minshew has played a little bit better at home. It's also another week back under Jonathan Taylor's belt. 1-2 combo, him and Zach Moss seems like something the Colts can lean on to control the clock a little bit. And then couple that with it being a potential letdown game. I'm going to take Indy here plus the points. An NFC East divisional matchup here as the 3-3 Washington Commanders continue their road trip after getting a W in Atlanta last week to face a reeling 1-5 New York Giants team that has struggled all year. Daniel Jones continues to be questionable with a neck injury, and the Giants are working out QBs with the anticipation that Jones may be out for a while. Tyrod Taylor, who filled in for Jones last week, did not find the end zone and also audibled into a run at the end of the first half that resulted in the Giants missing potentially game-winning points. These teams sit 3-4 in the NFC East division, and Washington comes into the game favored by 2. Who you got?
I'm going to keep riding Washington. I've, like I said, I've been kind of a little bit more favorable with them. The Giants are just so hit miss, which honestly Washington kind of has been too. But I trust Bieniemy. I still like what he's doing with the offense. So I'm going to take Washington minus the 2.
Yeah, I think this Commanders team is really the harder one to read. One week they look great, and the next week they look lost. I think the difference here will be whether the Giants can get after Sam Howell or not. But even if that happens, I don't know if the Giants can manage to pull a win out here. I'm going to take the Commanders to get a road win, but it should be a close game. Next up, the 3-3 Atlanta Falcons head to the Sunshine State after losing at home to the Commanders to match up against a 3-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that just lost a home matchup against the 5-1 Detroit Lions. The Falcons have struggled to get their offense going on the road so far this year, while the Bucs have given up 2 of 3 at home. Tampa Bay is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I think Tampa gets back in the win column here. I don't think they're going to be held down 2 weeks in a row, and Atlanta's defense is not the Lions' defense. So still at home, I think they'll be able to come back and have a little bit more firepower on the offense. So I do like Tampa to cover the 2.5.
Yeah, I think the Falcons are still trying to find their identity here, and I don't know if Ritter's the long-term answer at quarterback for them, but they do have weapons in Kyle Pitts and Drake London, and additional to Bijan Robinson, but they just don't seem to find the right formula, and I think those offensive struggles are going to continue here in Tampa, so I'm going to roll with you here and take Tampa Bay here minus the points. An AFC East matchup as the 4-2 Buffalo Bills head east after a 14-9 victory against the New York Giants to meet a 1-5 New England Patriots team that just lost 17-21 to the Las Vegas Raiders and currently has the second worst point differential in the league so far this year at -80. Questions remain at who will start at quarterback for the Patriots, while the Bills continue trying to keep pace with the division-leading Miami Dolphins. Buffalo is favored here by 8.5.
Yeah, I like Buffalo. It's hard to take New England right now with their lack of offense, and the Bills' defense is very good. New England scores 10 in this game, I'll be impressed. So I'm going to take Buffalo to roll them here, minus the 8.5.
Yeah, we talked about, I would give Cunningham a shot just to see what he can do, but what they're doing right now is not working, and I don't think anything they're going to do in this one's going to matter. So I don't see them slowing down Josh Allen. I'll take Buffalo here minus the points as well. The 3-3 Las Vegas Raiders traveled to the Windy City after handing the New England Patriots their 5th loss of the year to face off against a 1-5 Chicago Bears team that just lost to the Minnesota Vikings at home and appear to have also lost QB Justin Fields to a dislocated thumb for the foreseeable future, leaving quarterback Tyson Bagent or NFL journeyman Nathan Peterman at the helm. The Raiders are currently second in the AFC West, while the Bears sit at the bottom of the NFC North. Vegas is favored by 3.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be a battle of the backups. So I like Vegas's talent a little more than the Bears' talent when it comes to the rest of the team. So I'm going to take the Raiders minus the 3 on the road.
Yeah, as if Chicago couldn't get worse, they're about to get worse with Justin Fields being out. The Raiders aren't great, but this Bears team is banged up, and they're in for a long year if this becomes a lingering issue for Fields, because right now I don't think he can grip the ball. So I'm going to take the Raiders here minus the points. The NFC North leading Detroit Lions are sitting at 5-1 and head to Baltimore after a victory in Tampa Bay last week to match up against the 4-2 Ravens, who just got a W on the road against the Tennessee Titans and currently sit atop the AFC North. This should be a great matchup as one of the best offenses and best defenses go head to head, but it could be a bit limited as David Montgomery is expected to miss some time. Baltimore is favored by 3. What you got?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Baltimore coming back from England and Lions. My main question is this going to be another takeover? They've literally taken over every stadium we've played at this year. The fans have been incredible. I hope to see a blue out again in Baltimore, and I am going to take the Lions to cover. I think I just don't like teams coming back from that trip to London, especially going to have to get into a physical battle with what we're about to bring to them. And our offense, I think, is still too much for their defense to handle. So I am going to take the Lions to keep rolling here.
Yeah, this should be a fun matchup. I'm interested to see how Detroit plays on the road against this defense, but the Lions have a lot of weapons. Gibbs is going to need to find his footing this week if Detroit has a shot at pulling this one out on the road because Baltimore's defense is tough, especially in the middle of the field. I think this could end up in a push with it being -3, but I'm going to take Detroit here plus the points. The first of our 4 p.m. games has the 3-2 Pittsburgh Steelers heading out to Hollywood after their bye week to go up against Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams, who currently sit at 3-3 as well. Or I guess they're 3-3 while the Steelers are 3-2. Pittsburgh continues dealing with injuries and have one of the worst offenses in the league, while the Rams continue to get healthier with the return of Cooper Kupp and are coming off a 26-9 win over the Arizona Cardinals at home. The Steelers currently sit as second in the AFC North, and the Rams are third in the NFC West. LA is favored by 3.
So the Rams actually had some major injury issues in the game last week. They lost Kyron Williams and they lost the backup, my guy from Fresno, Ronnie Rivers. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes down at running back now because there kind of are none. So I know they signed I forget who it was. I think Henderson maybe today, but I give me Stafford slinging it to Puka and Cooper. I've loved the offense has been very good. Like I just like their offense better than Pittsburgh's offense. It's going to be a home game for Pittsburgh, even though it's in LA. The Terrible Towels will take over SoFi, just like every team does. But I do think that the Rams have enough in this one. I like them at home.
Yeah, this Rams offense is looking good as it gets healthier. Unfortunately, they lost the running backs there. It looks like Zach Evans is currently listed as 3rd on the depth chart, and Royce Freeman is listed as 4th on their depth chart. But I don't think the Steelers can keep up with LA on the scoreboard. If it's going to end up being an air shootout, Matthew Stafford's going to rip them apart as far as that's concerned. They just have much better weapons on offense. So I'm going to take Stafford and the Rams here minus the points as well. An NFC West divisional matchup as the 1-5 Arizona Cardinals try to bounce back after a road loss to the LA Rams as they travel to Seattle to meet the Seahawks who return home after a 13-17 loss at the hands of the Cincinnati Bengals. Arizona has question marks at quarterback and a number of other positions as they deal with injuries, while the Seattle Seahawks look to fix some red zone issues and get Geno Smith and the passing game back going while continuing to lean on a red-hot Kenneth Walker. Seattle is favored by 7.5 in this one.
Yeah, I like Seattle returning home and getting it going again. Arizona's been good at home, but I haven't really seen them much on the road do anything spectacular yet. So I do like Seattle to get the cover here.
Yeah, Seattle's coming back. They're going to look to bounce back, coming back at home. Look for this crowd to be amped up, being a divisional game. So I think Seattle's going to take care of business. I'll take them minus the points as well. The 2-3 LA Chargers hit the road to Arrowhead after losing a close game to the Dallas Cowboys last night to face off against Patrick Mahomes and the 5-1 Kansas City Chiefs in an AFC West matchup. KC looks to get their second divisional win after a victory last week against the Denver Broncos, while the Chargers look and try to figure out how to stop losing close games, with all 3 of their losses this year being within 3 points. KC is favored by 5.5.
The Chiefs are coming off of a bye, right?
Yes.
Take Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid off of a bye is like 8,000-0. So I'm taking the Chiefs with a cover, and I'm sure we'll see some brilliant decision making from Brandon Staley at some point in this game also. So I think the Chiefs at Arrowhead under 7. I love this. I'll take the Chiefs all day.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I expect the Chiefs to win this game and cover. All right, the last of our 4 p.m. games has the 2-3 Green Bay Packers coming off their bye week and fly out to Mile High to face a 1-5 Denver Broncos team that lost 8-19 last Thursday at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. Both teams have lost their last 2 games, but Green Bay has a 0 points differential while the Broncos are sitting at -71 and could decide to go on a fire sale here soon as they slide into a total rebuild. Green Bay heads to Denver favored by 1.5.
I am actually rolling with the Packers. I think Denver's done. Like they haven't shown any signs of life that are productive. I still like what the Packers have. Obviously, they're young, but Coming off of a bye, I've had extra time to prepare. I do like the Packers to get the cover here.
Yeah, with the Packers coming off the bye week, they should be coming back a little healthier, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Aaron Jones is also back in action, so I'm going to take Green Bay here minus the points to win it. Our Sunday night matchup is a big one and a potential Super Bowl preview with a battle of 5-1 teams as the Miami Dolphins head to the city of brotherly love to take on Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Dolphins are wrapping up a 2-game stint at home and are the hottest offense in the league, while the Eagles return home after losing a tight game in New York against the Jets 14-20. Jalen Hurts threw 3 picks in the loss, and the Eagles are dealing with some injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Miami, on the other side of the equation, has given up a lot of points this year and is banged up in the secondary with Xavier Howard being questionable, which may not bode well for them as they match up against A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Both teams are sitting at the top of their division, and the Eagles are favored by 2 here at home.
Yeah, the injuries for the Eagles do concern me a little bit just because of Miami's offense, but I like Philly at home, and I think they will be just a little bit too much for Miami's defense. And I talked, I think it was last week, about how Philly can kind of play whatever style they need to play to stay in the game, and only having to win by 3 to cover. Like I like Philly minus the 2 here.
Yeah, I'm dubbing this one the Battle of the Bama Boys with Tua versus Jalen Hurts here. I've had this game circled on the calendar since the preseason. It should be a really fun game to watch. I see this game being a shootout. Because of that, it's hard for me to go against the best offense in the league. So I'm going to take Miami here plus the 2. All right, guys. Our Monday night matchup features a 5-1 San Francisco 49ers squad that just lost their first game last week at the hands of the Cleveland Browns as they continue their road trip against a Minnesota Vikings team that sits 2-4 and returns home after a road win against the Chicago Bears. San Fran is battling injuries with the likes of Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and Trent Williams, but will look to bounce back this week against a Vikings team that also isn't healthy and has yet to win a game at home this year. San Francisco sits atop the NFC West, while the Vikings are currently 3rd in the NFC North. The Niners are favored by 6.5.
If the Niners are under 7, I'm taking them. So give me the Niners minus 6.5.
Yeah, I think despite what happens with Deebo or Run CMC here, the Niners are going to come into this game pissed off and ready to take it out on the Vikings. So I'm with you. I'm going to take the Niners here to cover the points. All right, guys. That leads us to the one and only time of the show. Time for locks. I am 6-0 in locks this year. Workman is 3-3. Looking to bounce back here. Workman, why don't you go first, man?
So let's see. To get me over 500, what do I want to pick here? I'm gonna roll with the Chiefs. I don't understand. I don't know. I mean, that line seems too low to me. So I like the Chiefs minus the 5.5.
All right, Chiefs minus 5.5. My lock this week is going to be Seattle over Arizona. I think the Cardinals defense is going to struggle to contain Kenneth Walker, and Geno should have a solid performance against the secondary. So lock me in on the Seahawks covering. There it was. All right, guys. That is it for us. Workman, you got anything else here to add before we sign off?
Only what I've said every week. We're going to go with an eat 'em up Lions, eat 'em up, continue the streak, bring all the blue to Baltimore. It's time to go to 6-1 with a favorable matchup to go 7-1 next week before the bye. Things are looking very good in Detroit.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. We shared an interesting photo of what AI expects Detroit to look like if they win the Super Bowl, and it was the most accurate thing I've ever seen.
Yes. I will share that to our Twitter page. That is a must see. That the AI generated celebration in Detroit. It's incredible. I'll be sure to share it on there.
Definitely push it down our socials. Just so you guys know, bye weeks this week are Carolina, Cincinnati, Dallas, Houston, the Jets, and the Tennessee Titans. So those are the teams on bye. One last note here before we sign off. We are going to be dropping a special edition episode tomorrow at noon. So whether you listen to our NCAA or NFL podcast or both, please keep an eye out for that. It should be a good one. We are going to be interviewing a special guest, and that will be released tomorrow at noon. So that is all for us tonight. For Jacob Workman, I am Reese Downing. This is the Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, Week 7 NFL edition. Good luck and good gambling, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
See you, everyone.